Thanks to the Loft, the center of our literary community, for hosting. Thank you, Nodin, for this beautiful book. And it is really a beautiful book. And for the pleasure of working with Nodin Press. And for hosting the reception after the reading. Did you see the good stuff out there? Yes. Thanks, Neil, for that gorgeous introduction and for reminding me of a past spent creating an arts organization, a memory I cherish. Thanks to Randy Scholes for the gorgeous artwork on the cover. Who made sure that, as far as humanly possible, there are no errors. And I don't want to know about them. Thanks to family at the heart of my life. Thank you to friends who are here tonight, to those of you I've known for years, and to the new friends who took a chance and came to see what this book might be about. A shout out to family members whose presence I missed this evening, to Amy, to Danny, to Eden, to Rose, to Sarah, to Trevor, as well as to friends far away who wrote or called to say how much they would have liked to share this evening. This evening, I'm thinking of many of the writers I had the pleasure of introducing here. Some of them are in the audience. Thank you. And I'm thinking of Bill Bohm, a friend I admired and loved very much. Bill usually opened his reading with poems by other writers. And tonight I'll follow his example and begin with 3 short poems, each packing a distinctive punch, each relevant to what I have written about. The first is Delmore Schwartz from the 50s. My goodness. The great globe reels in the solar fire, spinning the trivial and unique away. How all things flash, how all things flare. May memory restore again and again the smallest color of the smallest day. Time is the school in which we learn. Time is the fire in which we burn. And then Ruth Stone from What Love Comes To. The poem is called Yes, Think. Mother, said a small tomato caterpillar to a wasp, why are you kissing me so hard on my back? You'll see, said the industrious wasp, deftly inserting a package of her eggs under the small caterpillar's skin. Every day the small caterpillar ate and ate the delicious tomato leaves. I am surely getting larger, it said to itself. This was a sad miscalculation. The ravenous hatched waspworms were getting larger. Oh world, the small caterpillar said, you were so beautiful. I am only a small tomato caterpillar, made to eat the good tomato leaves, and now I am so tired. Nature smiled. Never mind, dear, she said. You are a lovely link in the great chain of being. Think how lucky it is to be born. And from Ted Kooser, A Glimpse of the Eternal. Just now, a sparrow lighted on a pine bough right outside my bedroom window, and a puff of yellow pollen flew away. Each of these poems is a glimpse into the writer's take on the universe. You would never mistake the vision of one of these poets for any other. Each opens a door for the reader about what matters to the writer. Years ago, I was interviewed by a committee about why I wanted to teach poetry. I was asked to define poetry with a capital P, didn't I? And I said I couldn't do it because poetry is always transforming, always shape-shifting. Whatever I might say today would not encompass poetry tomorrow. I can talk about the gift of individual poems. I can write poems about topics that have meaning for me. T.S. Eliot wrote that the only subjects that have meaning are birth, copulation, and death. Well, as you'll see, I've covered those. But just for the heck of it, I threw in friendship, parenting, travel, love, compassion for animals, and because I've always been so very aware of the ticking of the big clock in the sky and the small clock in my chest, the constant movement of time as it becomes memory. Part of the fun of working on this manuscript over the past year has been to play, to experiment, to choose the style and form for each poem which seemed best to address what I was writing about at the moment I was writing. I hope some of the pleasure I felt in writing translates into reading the poems. As Delmore Schwartz says, time is the school in which we learn, time is the fire in which we burn. And that brings us to the first poem in this book called Beating Time. There's a quote. "I dare say you never even spoke to time," said the Hatter. "Perhaps not," Alice cautiously replied, "but I know I have to beat time when I learn music." "Ah, that accounts for it," said the Hatter. "He won't stand beating. Now, if only you kept on good terms with him, he'd do almost anything you liked with the clock." Beating time. "Last year you drove the SUV that glanced off mine, nudging it against the guardrail. The meter went crazy, ringing up years I was saving. You advertised the wavy ridges in my calcium-deficient nails, the bird tracks at the corner of my eyes. You run the video fast forward in realistic flesh tones. You compress my days into shortwave crackles no one wants to hear. If I could guess the rune of your running name, I could float a stone or stop a clock. As I move fast and faster down the sloping corridor of days, falling, spinning past those shelves, their cakes and bottles labeled, eat me, drink me, gone in a blur as I reach out a hand. I pick up speed and know I will not fall on leaves in Wonderland. I reach out in the immaculate now that is mine, that is all I ever had, but that has meant everything. This is vodka. And I really need it. In the next poem I'll read, by the way, I'm reading 15 poems, so you can kind of tell when we're getting there. It's called Flying the Hill. Time in childhood is concentrated. Some moments seem to last forever. In my city neighborhood, the pursuit of pleasure for kids included playing pretend games in the abandoned lot next door. Sports were mainly stickball in the street for boys, jump rope, stoop ball, and for real thrills for girls, roller skating. Flying the hill. I wanted them more than anything. Ball-bearing roller skates, skates that growled. The summer I turned 10, my mother traded for a pair. And like the other girls, I wore my skate key on a cord around my neck. We fastened our skates on someone's red brick stoop, tightening the clamps with our keys until we couldn't feel our toes. We rolled onto the pavement, ball bearings rumbling. The boys in the street playing stickball ignored us, or pretended to. When I hit the sidewalk, a thrum started in the soles of my feet, vibrating every cell as we clattered to the big hill. When I stepped down to the blacktop of the street, there was silk beneath my skates, a river made of speed. My skates purred as I cruised, praying no car would turn the corner of 44th when I flew past, eyes half shut, arms hugging my knees, myself a wind, thinking only faster. Climbing to the top for the gift of free fall, we surrendered again and again to a pleasure we controlled, until our bodies jittered, our thighs burned, legs wobbled, gave out. Spent, but high as the hill, we sat in a row on the curb, swapping candy and gum, setting a time to fly again before we rolled home.
That's nice.
I'm going to read 2 poems with different takes on parenting. First one is called Yes. These questions you ask me with your eyes, I would answer yes to you always. Yes, yes, yes. I would sugar your strawberries with my yes. I would pack yes into your lunches with the cookies. Crack and peel the hardest days and wrap them in the foil of my shielding yes. At night, I imagine feeling my way to your stabled bodies and finding that you have moved out of the house, out of the yard, into spaces I can't share. I promise you a waking passport out of the country of casual knives that slash because you're too small, too tall, too blue, too red. I promise you something better than a promise. You will grow out of clothes too tight for you, the garments of smaller persuasions. You will grow to imagine yourselves. You will grow up out of the leaf, out of the shadow of my yes. And the second poem is called Suburban Mother. A god of transport pitied me. I'm bigger than anybody now. 2-ton, 2-tone, heavy-duty, half woman, half car, a crossbreed of the age. 1-foot idols, dreams of naked nights, playing footsie in sheets crisp as bacon. 1 foot's the schizo, critic and censor, the foot with the brains, the foot with the urge to overtake. I hold the road in both hands, the bowl of cherry pits, the asphalt pennants, the nagging question I can't remember. Every day, I gas up and go. 2. The shortest distance between 2 points is a carpool. Some of you have done this. The lottery of children with nothing in common but a destination. In the rearview mirror, I watch them bob, each in a separate wave, far from any shore. The atmosphere is charged with electric disturbance, passionate wishes that never translate into words. 3. I know my children as fellow travelers, books and lunch bags beside them, artists of the silent screen, eyes blank as cut radishes. The expensive years we cannot ration burn in our wake. We left home without the list. Our hair grows out lead and oxides. Our lungs fill with lessons and errands. Do you know us? The next poem, Swimming into Sex, We're now in T.S. Eliot territory in this musing on copulation and the role of gender, swimming into sex, lying at my ease, an old Johnny Cash hit reverberating on my iPhone. A fish called the Indigo Hamlet swims into my thoughts. Johnny sings about a ring of fire, burning, burning, burning. Well, this blue fish, so cool, 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 changes gender several times a day. Do-si-doing without a glitch, which one will be passive, which active. When they switch their fish fandango, spawn again, as often as 5 times a mating. Their stamina inspires me. I'd like to know, as Johnny might have, is a Hamlet just as pleased performing the role of male as playing the female? And is there a cutoff switch built into their gender agenda that tells them when to stop? Or is the program as erratic as the one that burns, burns, burns in human DNA, urging the consumption of every truffle in the Godiva box before calling it quits? If only I could ask those Hamlets gliding without fuss from one gender into another, whether they relish the knack, or whether it's yet another chore in our ring of fire. Warwick. The next poem is called Letter to Kathleen. If we're lucky, we have a friend in our lives who might live far away, but who is dear and close to you, a friend you might not be able to meet in person for months or even years, but whenever you talk or correspond, connection is there, essential, strong, meaningful. Letter to Kathleen. Kathy, my friend, how good to speak to you again. Over the years, I've had some faulty connections. When I dial yesterday, I get busy, 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 or the recording. But you, how have you kept that voice? Butter brittle Hennessy, carbon steel vanadium, slicing through our frozen chunk of time. Your voice has always been here with me, buried in warm sand behind my eyes. Kathy, many beg for a message, a whisper, a shadow against the shade. The milkmaid cried, come, come, oh come. Krishna did not choose to come. But you do not even need to be listening, to be, for me. Yet, here you are. How has it been with me? Sometimes I settled, a pioneer, broken, whose eyes couldn't make it over the mountains. Sometimes I was the parsley on the platter for the ride, a garnish uneaten. Sometimes I was a clear vase filled with flowering light. Sometimes my bones were added to the milk for extra calcium. Kathy, even if you are a wishful figment, you are vine-clad, green and primrose, prima veritas. Your laugh floats petal by petal, plucked at the expense of thorns. Kathy, even if you are too true to be good, true as Lad, a dog, true as milkweed pod sailing milkweed silk, you are true for me. You are a granary hoarded against lean years. You are a Swiss Army knife, many blades and all keen. You are a stone that knows north. You are holy. I enshrined you. You are a talisman. I won't give you up. I've heard that the poems in section 3 of this book are painful for some people to read. They were painful to write. And most important, nothing in these poems is untrue or overstated. So I'll read one poem from that section called How It Is, in honor of Ruth Stone and Carol By. Mama, wails the newborn calf, why is a man carrying me away? Mama, I am hungry and afraid. My darling child, every year it is so. They take you away, though my udder is full of milk made for you. I cry and call, but they never bring you back to me, and I cannot follow you beyond the wire fence. The man who feeds me says you are going to another life, and so I must be glad for you, my darling child. There, there, Bossy, says the farmer, pictured on my milk carton, embracing a cow. Never you fret. Everywhere you are revered, prized, your natural gifts desired. You are a factory of goodness, a vital link in the great chain of commerce that feeds the human world. What could be better than that? Something a little more fun, perhaps. A poem about Japan. And I'll tell you a little about it. Sometimes the universe gives us a bit of evidence that karma exists. Here's the story that led to the genesis of this poem about this event at a shrine in Japan. On the airplane heading to a meeting in Japan, I walked forward and politely asked the man reading the newspaper if I might borrow the New York Times book review after he read it. That may have been obnoxious, but I did. He looked at me and said, "No." I was surprised. Later, when we disembarked and got on the bus with our group, there he was. The grudging New York Times reader with his wife. He avoided looking at me. After about a week into the tour, our group visited Nikko, a World Heritage Site for its variety of Buddhist temples and Shinto shrines. One such shrine, the most famous, displays carvings of the three wise monkeys, exemplifying see no, hear no, speak no evil. Well, the place was very crowded with many stalls selling fortunes. What I didn't know about Japanese fortunes at the time is that they are not all positive. Not at all. After a while, the wife of the man, who wouldn't share his New York Times, came running past us, visibly perturbed. "My husband's fortune says he'll get a terrible disease and die. I have to find a way to get rid of the fortune." Actually, I went off with her to find out how to undo this terrible spell. Anyway, so this year when I came upon a photo of those monkeys, I remembered the incident and wrote this poem. And by the way, Japanese fortunes are called omikuji. Nikko, Toshobu Shrine, omikuji. Beneath the temple roof, the three wise monkeys, Mizaru, Kitazaru, Iwazaru, hear no, see no, speak no evil. On this cloudy autumn weekend, perched above the crowds, below the temple roof, as a river of celebrants circles food stalls, streams past souvenir stands, selling sets of resin monkeys, forests of paper fortunes tightly furled, awaiting purchase. A woman from our tour cries out as if in pain, pushes others aside to reach us, thrusting curling strips of paper into our puzzled faces. There must be an antidote, she cries, looking wildly at us. This is my husband's fortune. You will become incontinent, lose your soul to a demon, your money to a scheming relative. We stare at one another. Nothing in our history of fortunes and cookies has prepared us for anything other than, you will have a very busy year, or a lucky journey awaits you and a loved one. And this, she says, how can this be mine? This is a lie, all wrong. I've always been a good person. Your lustful eye leads you on a crooked path. Your children will turn away from you, wish you dead. Our guide takes the papers from her trembling fingers, saying, don't be alarmed. Omikuchi are often wrong. Such fortunes we send away from us. She nods in a pine festooned with twists of paper strung on silver wires, discarded ornaments of ill luck. On a branch she fastens amongst the others these two most recent misfortunes. Or, she asks, maybe you prefer that we burn them instead? Once these are gone from you, you are free to choose others. A sudden gust of rain spatters the three wise monkeys. Hurtling toward us, the future offers its weather. As soon as it's here, it's gone. But so what? I remember it, bending into the climb, the thrust of heel and calf, the leap of sun on rock. Whatever it was flashed behind a bush, lizard or snake, thin air singing in our skulls. A hawk hovered below us. In his wake, birds sprawled across the sky. Space spilled at our feet, thin air singing in our skulls. We were there, immediate and true, living in the moment's only moment. I remember it, the room flecked with light, feathers of light, snow clotting the pane, while in the trees a soft light splayed the spruce into fat white fingers. The snow's thick silence stilled the world's pulse, and I remember the music we made with our bones, rising like cobras from our twining thighs. We were there, bodies immediate and true, living in the moment's only moment. Once I said, I see. I know how it is. I know how to live in this world. But I was wrong. You can only know for then, not for now. We keep it moving, hand and heel and snaking thigh, body immediate and true. The hawk hanging in the skull's bright air in the moment's only moment. And now I'm going to come back to Bill Home, that wonderful poet whose voice many of you are familiar with and have heard. There's such a mystery about personality. How is it that some people stay with us so fully, so intensely? Bill was one of those persons. He wrote a book about a dear friend of his who died. The book was called The Dead Get By with Everything. And here are a few lines from his poem before I read you my poem about Bill. Who do the dead think they are, up and dying in the middle of the night, leaving themselves all over the house, all over my books, all over my face? How dare they sit in the front seat of my car, invisible, not wearing their seatbelts, not holding up their end of the conversation? The dead get by with everything. My poem. You don't get by with being dead, Bill Home. I dreamed I saw Bill home last night, alive as you and me. Said I, but Bill, you're dead and gone. I never died, said he. That's truth, I said. You never died for me. I see you in your Icelandic sweater, red, and hair and beard gone white, cloth book bag in hand, stocked with your newest pets. You must read this one, you say, thrusting a book at me. Insatiable, unquenchable, your appetite for books, stashed in every room, on nightstands, in cupboards, and back of the commode, so that you and your guests might never be lonely, might never reach out a hand in the night without finding a book to caress. Music was soul food, Bach or a ragtime riff, Scarlatti, Scott Joplin, Schumann, always something new for your fingers, feeling their way inside the music, meditating at the keyboard, playing Haydn for the angel of death who liked it all too well. I open one of your books. You come striding out, your voice with its hint of Iceland lilt, green Viking eyes seeking the long view of the world, the prairie view, horizontal grandeur, like that other poet for whom grass was a symbol of everything American, everything worth defending, worth loving. You hectored us, your fellow citizens. Don't be enthralled to things. Care about beauty, damn it. Be less stupid. Your love of coin would stagnate whatever is left of your brain. As ugly Americans, you despised us, but liked almost any one of us over a meal and a glass or two of something worth drinking. Let's have lunch, you'd say. I know just the place. You greeted the cook and the waitress and everyone seated inside as a friend or soon to be one. In an age that worships money and youth, you said, not so fast, America. Look well at what poverty and age can teach. Hard times are coming again, and you and you and you, not a one of us will be ready. You ate too much, drank too much, smoked too much. You knew the price, paid it. You left us too soon, Bill. We need your voice scolding us into better. There's unfinished business for your words today and tomorrow, as alive in times to come as the day you scrawled them on a yellow legal pad. This next poem is called At the Bird Ramada, Sonoran Desert. In February of this is before I'm reading the poem. In February of this year, my husband Henry was thrown from his horse, broke 11 ribs and his scapula, bruised his lung, and more of the same. Our family took shifts at the hospital, making sure he was cared for. When we handed off from our 8-hour shifts, we went back to the ranch we were staying at to sleep and eat. One day, close to the end of Henry's 33-day hospital ordeal, when we knew he would be going home, I decided to take a different kind of break. I walked out onto a desert path to visit the ranch's isolated bird feeding area. At the Bird Ramada. Take the sandy horse trail that winds through barbs and spikes, cholla, prickly pear, barrels, desert natives feeding on lethal light. Close the first horse gate after you. Turn off to the right, there for the gravel path hung with a carnival array of feeders. Here's the shed, ramshackle, open to the desert on all sides. Peeled mesquite logs slanting inward, propping up a wooden roof lined with ocotillo ribs. Under that roof, the only shade for miles. I wait for as long as it takes. At a signal I can't hear, a skittish cactus wren peers from her saguaro penthouse, looks around, screams and screams again. Birds materialize. A flicker zooms from saguaro to feeder, back again and back again, rattling out his complaint, "Quick, quick, quick, scram, damn it," at the mob of sparrows crowding the feeder, who've heard it all before and keep right on jam-packing in. A troop of Gambel's quail bursts from a mesquite thicket, giddy as new-hatched debutantes, head plumes quivering, bobbing, peeping their delight. A splotch of bright arterial blood alights, waits a slender Palo Verde branch, a northern cardinal, too red for his own good. Plowing the air overhead, ravens make a flyby, broadcasting the morning news, their cries, rusty gates, opening, closing. Higher still, a family of red-tailed hunters lazes in the updrafts, circling, perusing the buffet far below. At a signal I can't hear, birds evaporate. I'm alone, no sound that I can hear. The silence is the desert, listening. Flecks of mica glint from scree, glitter from every rocky slab. It's almost noon. The sky is radiant ultramarine from one horizon, one lofty horizon to the other. Herds of pastured clouds graze the bony shoulders of the Rincon ridgeline. If I could, I'd come here every day for, say, 1,000 years, because this is enough, more than enough. And a little more fun. Most of us role play in our relationships to some extent. It's useful to figure out where those roles come together. This poem is called Games. Let's say I am the last door on the right, and you are the convincing plot. You are the salt of the earth, and I am better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. I'll be the last of a distinguished line, and you, well, sorry, you will be the spoiled broth. I can be easy come, easy go. You will be ideal and wanting, but not wasting. I'll play the once and only king. You will be a spell Merlin sometimes forgot. I've been the watch pot boiling over, while you were better late than never. Although you weren't convincing as the missed chance, and I was just okay as the greener grass on the other side of the hill. Tonight, we can't go wrong as the long-married couple. You with your feet up, sports section sprawled on the floor, savoring the last slice of homemade pie, watching a Twins game to its bitter end, while I linger in a hot bath with a book, because there's no time like the present, and for us, birds of a feather and thick as thieves, there's no place like home. I was hoping. A pair of poems now about the end of life and the beginning. Old dog sleeping. Easy as snagging a treat. You do it. Stretch out fore and aft. Turn onto your side, sink to the bottom of the Mariana's trench of sleep. If sound swims down that far, maybe you hear the whir of wings rising, the crunch of leaves under running paws, the flutter of the future, bringing the gift of sleep uninterrupted. And this poem, called Being Born, I began to wonder how it was that there are so many more poems about being dead and dying than there were poems about being born. Both are processes we have to endure, we have no choice. And this poem, Being Born. Yesterday, I watched mayflies above a stream making their kind anew. Last night, under a plankton bloom of stars, I thought about it. My first accomplishment, the entrance exam given without consent. I don't remember twirling in warm dark, buzzed in fur, greased with vernix, sucking my thumb, not knowing it belonged to me and was a thumb. Or being thrust, shuddering, into a nova of exploding light, pulse after pulse of fiery gas propelled into each docile cell. I don't remember whether stars danced or rain blurred the windows. I don't remember the hands, hefty, swaddling, kind or impersonal. I knew no more than a crocus goblet thrusting green and sturdy through a March snow, the how of it or the why, the raw insistence on emergence. Scooped from a cauldron of gene soup, I beat the odds, became a universe. And finally, the last poem in the book, called Paradise. My parents had a close friend who was the attorney of the brilliant Austrian writer and satirist Karl Kraus, who opposed Hitler as he came to power. Karl Kraus was one of the foremost Austrians on Hitler's kill list, as was his attorney. This friend of my family was kind to me when I was a young teen. We talked about poetry and translation and the power of language. He left me his valuable words as well as his German edition of Karl Kraus. Paradise. We were waiting for a train in the echoing underground. I was 13. He was old, a family friend, a refugee from another century. The Gestapo hammered at his front door with the order for his arrest as he walked out the back door with nothing but his passport in his pocket. Just before our train thundered into the station, making it impossible to hear, out of the blue he said to me, "Memory is a paradise no one can expel you from." This morning, in another century, I woke up remembering. Thank you. And now there's a wonderful reception out there. Thank you.